Vast frozen Siberian wilderness at minus 51 degrees Celsius, violent blizzard, swirling white snow, isolated wooden log cabin, snow-covered pines. 70-year-old American widow, gray hair tied back, weathered face, wearing thick wool layers, holding a lantern inside a dark wooden cabin. Eyes wide with fear as she hears wolves outside, flickering warm light versus cold shadows. Large, hungry Siberian wolves pacing around a snow-covered cabin at night, glowing yellow eyes, silhouettes visible through heavy blizzard, U.S. storm wind blowing fur. Elderly woman in thick winter coat stepping out into whiteout blizzard with rifle on her back, snow blasting across her face, deep footprints behind her, wolves emerging in the storm. Intense moment of an old woman firing a rifle at a lunging wolf, muzzle flash illuminating the storm. Wolf midair with teeth bared. Abandoned wooden ranger outpost in Siberian storm. Old woman slamming door shut, wolves crashing into the door from outside. Interior lit by dim lantern, wood cracking under impact. Vast frozen Siberian wilderness at minus 51 degrees Celsius. Violent blizzard, swirling white snow. Isolated wooden log cabin, snow-covered pines. Cold blue cinematic lighting, dramatic aerial drone shot. Extremely detailed, ultra-realistic, tension-filled atmosphere. 70-year-old American widow. Gray hair tied back, weathered face, wearing thick wool layers, holding a lantern inside a dark wooden cabin. Eyes wide with fear as she hears wolves outside. Flickering warm light versus cold shadows, rustic interior. Ultra-detailed close-up shot. Large, hungry Siberian wolves pacing around a snow-covered cabin at night. Glowing yellow eyes, silhouettes visible through heavy blizzard. Low-angle cinematic shot, storm wind blowing fur. Dark and threatening mood. Hyper-realistic animal detail. Elderly woman in thick winter coat, stepping out into whiteout blizzard with rifle on her back. Snow blasting across her face. Deep footprints behind her. Wolves emerging in the storm. Survival tone. Dynamic action shot. Ultra-realistic snow particles. Intense moment of an old woman firing a rifle at a lunging wolf. Muzzle flash illuminating the storm. Wolf midair with teeth bared. Snow swirling in slow motion. Dramatic cinematic lighting. Hyper-detailed tension-filled scene. Abandoned wooden ranger outpost in Siberian storm. Old woman slamming door shut. Wolves crashing into the door from outside. Interior lit by dim lantern. Wood cracking under impact. Emotional, terrified close-up, cinematic realism. The wind screamed like a living creature. Sharp enough to cut skin and spirit alike. Snow whipped across the Siberian wilderness in furious spirals, burying the earth under sheets of ghost-white ice. In the midst of this unforgiving expanse, a lone log cabin shivered against the growling storm. Asterisk inside, Eleanor Briggs, a 70-year-old American widow with steel-gray hair and eyes that had seen more loss than most people endured in a lifetime, tightened her wool shawl around her shoulders. The old wooden floor groaned under her boots as she moved slow, deliberate steps that revealed both frailty and determination. Asterisk Eleanor had come to Siberia only 4 months earlier. She'd never imagined leaving her warm Montana home, never envisioned herself trading firelight gatherings for the silence of a frozen world. But after her husband, John, died, the home they built together felt too empty, too loud with memories. Their dream had always been to live off the grid somewhere wild. He never got the chance, so she did it for both of them. Tonight, though, the wilderness seemed intent on proving she didn't belong. Asterisk. The thermometer nailed outside her window shook violently from the wind. Its mercury frozen at minus 51 degrees Celsius. Asterisk. John, she whispered, exhaling warm breath into the icy air. You'd laugh at me for choosing this place. Suddenly, a deep, guttural howl rolled through the night. Eleanor froze. Another howl answered, then another. The sound circled her cabin like a hunting chant low, echoing. Hungry. Her stomach dropped. Wolves. She had heard stories from the local villagers about packs growing desperate in the winter storms, about animals starving and bold enough to approach homes. Asterisk, but she had never heard them this close. Asterisk. Wind rattled the wooden panels. Something scraped along the porch. Asterisk. Eleanor swallowed hard. Get the rifle, she whispered to herself. Asterisk. Her fingers trembled not from fear, but from the unbearable cold as she lifted the old Winchester she kept above the fireplace. She'd been taught to shoot by her father long before she learned how to dance, long before she learned how brutal life could be. Asterisk. A heavy thud hit her front door. Asterisk. Eleanor jolted. Asterisk. Then she heard it panting, claws scratching, a deep growl vibrating through the wood. Asterisk. Not tonight, she murmured, trying to sound braver than she felt. As she loaded the rifle, memories flooded her mind of John, of their camping trips in the Rockies, of the bear encounter that proved she was no stranger to danger. She wasn't some fragile old woman. She'd lived through heartbreak, poverty, illness, a widowhood that felt like drowning. She could survive wolves, or die trying. Asterisk. The wolves close in. Asterisk. A shadow passed by her frosted window. Then another. The wolves were circling. Eleanor peered through the crack in the curtain. Their bodies were barely visible through the storm. A pack of 6, maybe 7. Massive gray beasts with ribs protruding and eyes glowing like embers. Asterisk. A soft thump hit the side wall. Asterisk. Then the sound of wood splintering. Asterisk. No. No, no, don't you dare break my home, she hissed. Asterisk. She grabbed her coat, hat, and wool gloves. The cabin shook from another impact. They were trying to get in. If the walls broke, she wouldn't stand a chance. Just half a mile uphill, through brutal snow and blinding wind, there was a ranger outpost. She had seen it once when hunting for firewood. If she made it there, she'd be safe, maybe even find help. A suicidal idea took shape in her mind. She had to leave the cabin. Asterisk. Staying meant death. Asterisk. She strapped the rifle across her back, stuffed a few bullets into her pocket, and took a deep breath. Asterisk. John. Walk with me, she whispered, pushing open the back door, barely big enough for her to slip through. Asterisk. The cold slapped her like a sheet of knives. A wolf howl echoed again, but this time it wasn't far. Asterisk. It was right behind her. Eleanor trudged forward, snow swallowing her boots with each step. The wind clawed at her face, freezing her eyelashes together. She kept her head low, shielding her eyes. Asterisk. Every breath burned her lungs. Behind her, crunch, crunch, wolves. She didn't dare look back. Asterisk. Her cabin was now a small shadow behind the white fog of the blizzard. Asterisk. Up ahead, nothing but swirling snow. Asterisk. She kept walking, repeating every prayer she remembered from childhood. Suddenly a distant howl split the air, followed by growls. She felt rather than heard them closing in. Asterisk. Eleanor whipped around just as a wolf lunged from the whiteness teeth bared, claws slicing the air. Her body moved before her mind. She ripped the rifle from her back, aimed, and fired. Asterisk. The blast cracked like thunder. The wolf yelped, stumbling back, its silhouette fading into the storm. But the others kept coming. 3 shadows emerged in a semicircle, stalking with feral hunger. Oh, Lord, she breathed. She fired again, missing. Snow blinded her, wind throwing her shot off balance. A wolf pounced. She fell backward, hitting the ground, snow cushioning the impact. The beast lunged for her throat. She thrust her arm between its jaws. Pain exploded as its teeth tore through her coat sleeve and grazed her skin. Asterisk, with her free hand, She grabbed a handful of snow and crammed it into the animal's eyes. The wolf snarled, shaking its head. She shoved with all her strength. It rolled off. She scrambled up, panting. Her left arm throbbed, warm blood soaking her sleeve. She fired again. This time, she hit the wolf in the shoulder. It dropped. The other wolves hesitated. For a moment, they backed away, growling deeply, testing her resolve. You want me? She shouted into the storm. Come get me, then. Her voice was swallowed by the wind. She turned and kept moving uphill. Time blurred. The storm was merciless. Each second felt like a minute, each step like a mile. Eleanor's fingers stiffened, her toes numb despite thick boots. She stumbled more than she walked, leaning on the rifle like a cane. At one point, she thought she saw John walking next to her. Not as a ghost, just a comforting memory. Almost there. Ellie, she imagined him saying. She pushed on, but the wolves weren't done. A. Howl echoed this one closer than before. She forced her legs to move faster. Her breath fogged thick in the air. Her heart pounded like a drum. Suddenly, she saw it. A dark shape through the storm. A structure. The outpost. Eleanor's knees buckled with relief. She half ran, half fell through the snow, reaching the small wooden building. Its door was frozen shut. She slammed her shoulder into it again and again until it cracked open. She stumbled inside and slammed the door behind her. The outpost was cold and nearly empty, but it offered solid walls. She collapsed onto the floor, gasping, her entire body shaking violently. Her fingers were blue at the tips, her lips numb. Her sleeve was sticky with blood, but she had made it, or so she thought. A loud thud hit the door. Eleanor's head snapped up. Another thud dashed harder. The wolves had followed her scent trail. They were right outside. The outpost door wasn't strong. Not enough to withstand a full pack. She backed away slowly, clutching her rifle with trembling hands. You should have stayed home, she whispered bitterly to herself. Warm blankets, warm fireplace. But no, you had to come chase dreams in Siberia. Another slam rattled the hinges. The wolves were desperate, and hunger made them fearless. Eleanor scanned the room. There had to be anything to reinforce the door. She pushed a wooden table against it, then a metal storage chest. Her breath fogged as she worked. The wolves hurled themselves at the door again. The table slid an inch. No. No, stay, she begged, pressing her body weight against the barricade. A long crack split across the top of the door. She backed away to the far corner, lifted her rifle, and aimed at the door. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. The storm howled outside, the wolves snarling and scratching. She had 2 bullets left. Just 2. The first plank broke. A paw slipped through the gap, claws scraping the floor. Eleanor fired. The wolf yelped and pulled away, but the door continued splitting. The room grew colder, her vision blurred. And then, through the wind, she heard something. Engines, snowmobile, voices, human voices. The wolves heard it too. They growled in confusion. Pulling back into the storm. Eleanor dropped the rifle, collapsing to her knees as tears streamed down her numb cheeks. The door burst open, not from wolves, but from rescuers. A Russian ranger ran inside, flashlight slicing through the dim room. Babushka, are you alive? He cried. She managed a weak smile. Barely. The ranger wrapped her in a thick thermal blanket, shouting in Russian to the team outside. 2 more rescuers lifted her gently, carrying her into the snowmobile sled. As they sped away, Eleanor looked back at the shadows lurking near the outpost wolves, watching silently as their prey escaped. She shuddered. Eleanor woke in a small village clinic the next morning. Her arm was stitched, her frostbite treated. Her body wrapped in warm blankets. The ranger stood beside her with a cup of steaming broth. "You survived minus 51 degrees Celsius," he said with a mix of awe and disbelief. "And wolves." Eleanor smiled faintly, eyes softening with exhaustion and pride. "I survived grief," she whispered. "Everything after that is just weather." The ranger blinked, unsure what she meant, but John would have understood. The villagers later told stories about the brave American grandmother who fought off a pack of starving wolves and walked half a mile in deadly cold. Her name spread across the region, then across the internet, inspiring thousands. But Eleanor didn't care about fame. She just cared that she kept her promise to live boldly. To honor her husband's dream. Spring eventually came. The snow softened, the rivers thawed, and the wilderness that tried to kill her now bowed to her resilience. She stayed in Siberia, not because she was fearless, but because she was alive. And she wasn't done living yet.